today, our guests, Alhassan, Suhuyini, and Akomeah, are going to help us discuss at least two of the big events of the past 7 days, the launch of the NDC manifesto and the flag bearer of the NPP's Meet the Press. I'll start with the Meet the Press, and then we'll go to the manifesto launch next. Mr. Suhuyini, if you don't mind, let me ask you this. The calls for the NPP flag bearer to do a Meet the Press actually started from the NDC when the flag bearer asked for a debate. The response was, John Mahama has met the press. Go do that before you come back and talk about a debate. So he's done that. Does that meet your satisfaction? Are you ready for a debate now?
Well, Kojo, let me say good morning to our listeners as well, and say that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the NPP always come to the party too late. You know, when the horses have already bolted. That's when, you know, they act, and we are all living the consequences of their belated decisions and actions. The fact that they never listened to good counsel to stop borrowing at the time that every well-meaning Ghanaian, led by the minority in parliament and the NDC, kept calling on them to check their appetite to borrow. They didn't listen, and the unbridled borrowing is the reason why our economy has gone bankrupt, and it is the reason why it has become very important for the NDC to come with a program that will reset this country and save millions of people who are undergoing excruciating hardship. Never before have we had to deal with an inflation rate above 50%, at least in the Fourth Republic. Never before have we had to deal with a double-digit inflation. I mean, a double-digit unemployment rate. Now it's a 14% and rising. Youth unemployment is even higher, over 30%. And it's always because of their decision not to listen when they are counseled appropriately, and to act sometimes too late. I mean, even when they didn't listen to advice to stop borrowing, and we saw the signs of the borrowing coming, and we advised them to seek help from the International Monetary Fund, you again noticed their intransigence, and intransigence that led to us approaching the IMF at a time that we needed to take a bath before even the IMF will embrace us, and that resulted in the haircuts that many well-meaning Ghanaians, especially those who had served this country diligently and were hoping to retire and enjoy the fruits of their investments, all had to undergo very severe haircuts. And so I am not surprised that once again they came to the party late, meeting the press too late in the day. His Excellency the President many times was called upon to do so. He never really opened himself up for scrutiny like his predecessors did, engaging the media every now and then. And he never, in most cases, even bothered to address issues that made headlines and that were of concern to the media. He just moved on like he was, ruling us from a palace, and nobody questions the chief. And so I'm not surprised that his aplanque, his mate, decided to also behave in that manner.
But he's done
fixing the press engagement at the time that he did could only be disingenuous. I mean, any person who is politically aware will tell you that it was intended for evil. unfortunately,
Why do you say that?
it backfired. I mean, clearly, the NDC's decision to launch his manifesto was known to all long before he decided to fix meet the press on the day that he did. And it was meant to pull the rug of the feet of the NDC and to overshadow the manifesto launch of the NDC. And I don't really have a problem with that. It is politics, and that's why they call it a game. And
so
if he
it's
chose
not evil.
if he chose, I mean, yes, I mean, games have rules, and the rules of decency, the rules of courtesy still apply in games.
But you
and that's
say
why
this is part of the game.
And that's why footballers, yes, when they tackle hard, they still extend, a helping hand to their colleagues. So it is a game, but you expect that it will be done with some level of courtesy. It will be done with some level of decency. So you will give your opponents their due. I mean, you allow them to have their say, especially when you trust in your message and you know that your message, your opponents, even if they have 3 or 4 days in the media, will not drown your very good message. But when you lack that courtesy and decency, then you play the mischief that he tried to play. Unfortunately, clearly, everyone who watched it noticed that, I mean, it wasn't the Bawumia they knew before the 2016 general elections, where he spoke and inspired the nation to act. This was a very, very, sobered Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who didn't know a lot about too many things. And yet, when it was palatable, claimed a lot of credits. I just at a point got very embarrassed watching him as a senior brother, to be honest with you. I mean, for example, Kojo, how can you serve as chairman of the police council for 8 years now, and for the first time in our elections since 1992, 8 people lost their lives, and you are asked a question about it, and you fumbled throughout and showed your lack of interest or knowledge on such a very critical matter of lives being lost? Chairman of the police council, is it the case that you don't care about your job as chairman of the police council, or you don't care about the lives that were lost? I felt very embarrassed with, the lack of interest or responsibility that he showed by the way he handled, that question. And so for me, I think that what is clear is that the press conference that was intended to overshadow the very beautiful manifesto of the NDC that is intended to solve the problems that he and his president have created turned out to be his Waterloo. For example, if you look at the NDC manifesto, we will come to the manifesto. Yes. But I just want to highlight a bit in relation to how Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the NPP have shown irresponsibility, and the decision to fix the press conference that they did was another one, apart from the answers that he gave. We showed a leader at our manifesto launch who is responsible enough to, face the challenges. He's done it before, and again, he's making that promise that he will do it again. I mean, for example, he's not just promising and leaving it to time and chance. He's saying, in 90 days, I'm going to do so and so. In 120 days, I'm going to do so and so. That's how a responsible, that's how somebody who is honest, that's how somebody who trusts in his ability to deliver, sets the standards.
It can't have all been negative. Is there perhaps one positive thing you heard at the Meet the Press?
I can't remember any, to be honest. I'm sorry, but it was that lackluster. I can't remember anything that gave me hope, that inspired me, apart from the fact that it showed, in some cases, how he doesn't seem to appreciate how badly they have managed affairs of this country, and still carries on with the hope that despite the abysmal failure, the people of Ghana will still be so gullible enough to want to gamble, with him. I can't remember anything that stood out, at that press conference. Can you tell me one? Maybe I will.
Okay,
I will comment on it.
That's your take on it. Let's hear from Nana. And Nana, this event was not without controversy. Following the event, there were some reports that the journalists were paid to be there. Let's talk about that. I mean, what was the thinking behind that?
Well, Kojo, you were there.
Actually, I wasn't invited. I gate crashed. I tried to ask a question. They didn't give me the chance.
You
So I
gate
left.
crashed?
I did.
You are like many I know who were not invited.
I was not invited. I was on my way from Cape Coast. I was listening to it on the radio. I wanted to ask a question. Nobody was asking it. So I went there. And
They
I
allowed
tried
you
to
in.
get their yes, I
But-
tried to get their attention to ask a question. They didn't give me the chance.
It was deliberate.
So I left.
I know a number of
before
journalists. The
it
other day I
ended.
was on TV3, and some of their journalists also,
I'm
talked
sorry
about
you
how
were
they were
not
not
there,
invited.
because
Yeah.
I thought I saw your name on the list of journalists invited. Maybe you had gone to Cape Coast.
Maybe my invitation got lost in the
Because
in the mail.
you had gone to Cape Coast. But there were over 200 journalists there. I don't know if there has been a bigger press conference where you have over 200 journalists there. And so this Suhuyini trying to make us believe that it was a restricted gathering cannot be true. A gathering of over 200. I don't know if any presidential candidate has had a media encounter where you had over 200 journalists there. And if a media house brought 11, of course, not all one media house cannot be allowed 11, Suhuyini. So if TV3 brought a list of 11, not all of them can be admitted. People had come from the regions and so on, and you're not going to have one media house having 11 people. You have to bring in maybe 4 or 5. But Kojo, the reason why I ask you the question is that I'm sure there were people from multimedia.
Yes, there were.
Even if you have they confirmed to you that they were paid 20,000 cedis or whatever?
Well, I don't know. I'm
Because
asking
you-
you
because you
because
said-
you are one of the organizers.
Because
of
you
this
said there
event.
have been reports.
Yes, so you
And-
can confirm to us whether that
these-
happened.
I'm
or
not the journalist, so if there were payments made to journalists, I wouldn't know. But one second, the reason why I'm asking is that because there were multimedia from this company who were there, if you had found out from them how much monies were you paid and they had confirmed, then we could be interrogating it. But
So
you
you're
know,
saying
the-
you're not aware of any payments?
I'm not
being made?
aware. No. I would not be surprised. Normally, you give people transport. Yes.
So how much was given?
I don't know. I'm not in charge of media, but definitely there will be some transport given, and I'm sure if there were no transport given,
I thought
I
you
would
just
have been
told us he's
surprised.
an integral member of the campaign team.
Yes,
The-
I'm not,
the-
this,
the
this
vice
was organized
chair
by the
of the-
communication people.
Okay.
So, but there definitely will be transportation given to people. But some of the sums, that's why I was asking if you've spoken to your people who have come from Joy FM, Adom FM, and some of the other. It cannot be true. I've never heard anybody say they were given 20,000 or whatever. Now, I find it so funny, the NDC's take on the media encounter by Dr. Bawumia. By every standard, it was a masterpiece. All the objective commentators that I have heard have said that it was a masterpiece. And Kojo, you yourself, you were there, even though Yeah, you found your way there, and so you were there. So nobody can come here and give you an opinion that can be so, because you were there yourself. And I'm hoping that you would tell us about your own impression. My impression may be biased. Suhuyini's impression may be biased, but you were there. Now, I'm bewildered, and I'm sure many Ghanaians are, about the discomfort of the NDC. Because they've been asking for a press conference. They say Bawumia hasn't met the press. And he meets the press. They say, why are you meeting the press on a Sunday? In fact, let me tell you a funny story. One NDC executive, I think the name is Bande or something, forgotten. And he was on this radio station going on about like Suhuyini is doing. And it's not just Suhuyini, John Mahama himself, going on about their press conference on Sunday. And this NDC executive, I think Bande is the name. And he was saying Sunday is a bad day for media encounter. The journalists have to go to church, and after church they need to spend time with their families. And it was such a bad time that Bawumia was having a press conference. And they pointed out to him that indeed, when John Mahama also met the media, it was a Sunday. And then the bewildered NDC executive said, well, John Mahama is not the president. Can you imagine? So it's difficult to understand what the issue is. That you had your manifesto on a Saturday. Bawumia didn't have his press conference on a Saturday. He didn't even have the press conference at the same place that you had your manifesto launch. He had his press conference on a Sunday, the day after. And you say you have a problem with that. So when should he have the press conference? 2 weeks after your encounter? Or 3 weeks after your encounter? I don't understand.
The suggestion is that you chose that date specifically to take away the media attention from their manifesto launch
the media,
within 24 hours.
The media attention, if it's taken, is because your message is not strong enough to stay in the media. Because how about the counter argument that if the NPP had their press conference or the day after, then their message would be drowned by the NDC's manifesto? How about that? Somebody could make the counter argument that if the NPP had a press conference on a Sunday, a day after the NDC's manifesto launch, then they risk their press conference being drowned by the NDC's. How about that? The thing is that if your message is good, if your message is compelling, it will stay in the media, it will stay in the public discussion. If your message is not good, it's not the fault of the NPP or whatever the NPP does. Indeed, Bawumia finished the Greater Accra campaign. The next day, John Mahama started his Greater Accra campaign. Has there been any complaint? Bawumia visited constituencies in Accra, left 2 days ago. The next day, John Mahama also started a Greater Accra tour. We haven't complained. Kojo, look, this is your station. You have programs that conflict or clash with similar programs by other stations, isn't it? Isn't it? Yes. Now, are you going to say that this morning you're not going to discuss so-so because City FM is also discussing the same thing? It would be strange if City FM told you, oh, but Joy FM, why are you starting you usually start your news at 6 p.m. and we start our news at 5:30. Why have you moved yours to 5:30? Are you trying to sabotage it? I'm sure you find it very strange. And that's exactly what the NDC is trying to do. How do you determine when another party should have their activity? How do you want to do that? I don't understand it. And listen, you say it was a flop. Then you should be happy. You should be happy. Why are you?
It sounds like they are.
We actually
Really?
Yeah.
They're complaining about the day. If you are not happy about the press conference, talk about why you are not happy, the merits and so on. But their main complaint is the day, the timing. What has the timing got to do with anything?
Well,
we didn't have it on the day that we... Look, let me give you also... And it for me, it is very similar to the NDC's reaction to the matter of the presidential debate. Same panic. Same excuses. They said, Bawumia, you can't have a debate with John Mahama because you haven't met the press. You heard those arguments. They came here and repeated them. They said, Bawumia, you don't speak the truth, so we can't have a debate with you. They said, before you have a debate with us, there are some members of parliament that you have to go and debate with. They say, Bawumia, you don't have respect. They say you should go and meet with market women and have the debate before we can have the debate with you. I mean, the IEA, Institute of Economic Affairs, signaled their intention to hold a debate. They came under severe attack from the NDC. You know, and they said Bawumia hasn't been accountable. The sheer panic at the suggestion of a debate, which is not new, is a regular feature of our presidential elections. The sheer is that same sheer panic that they are displaying with this press conference that Bawumia had. And I can assure them, the NPP would organize our events and our activities with the people of Ghana in mind, not with the NDC in mind. You know, so
let's talk about some of the specific issues that came up during the presser, and Mr. Suhuyini has pointed out a couple of them. The response to the question about the 8 people killed in the last election, Mr. Suhuyini points out that it seemed as if it wasn't a matter on the forefront of your flag bearer's mind.
Now Suhuyini is saying that Bawumia fumbled on that question. I don't know what he means by fumble. If I'm to point out to you many of the answers that John Mahama gave at his own press conference.
Let's not do
Sunday.
that. Let's
that's what I'm saying. If
you know.
I'm not going to do that because really, I mean, the people of Ghana saw it. But you said as chairman of police council, if I remember, those unfortunate deaths, I think the security people involved were the military, if I remember correctly, not the police. But the president himself commented on this matter at his first speech after. The president himself. I can show you the footage.
I'm surprised you are making reference to that speech.
Which speech?
The one the president made on it, where he described the lives lost as just a few.
You may have an issue with his
Can you imagine if one of them was his daughter? Would he have referred to it as just a few?
Can I? But I'm saying that he commented on it.
I'm surprised you are making reference to that comment.
Now, for me, I don't have any doubt that investigation is going on. If the investigations have delayed, we can point it out. And then all of us can interrogate it. But I have no doubt that some investigation is going on into this matter. But you see, Suhuyini and his colleagues, they are in parliament. You have every authority and every opportunity to bring the officials who should be engaged in this investigation. You have every opportunity to bring them to parliament. It's been like 3 years or so. You can bring the Minister for Interior, the police people, the military people, the national security people, and ask them what is the status of the investigation. If really you believe that there's some delay or there's some cover-up, that is why you are in parliament. That is why you are in parliament. So even assuming that the executive's response, as far as you are concerned, has not met your expectation, you have every right to bring them to the bar of parliament and question them. That's why you are there. You wouldn't do it. So in this case, you've also neglected your responsibility. Now,
that's not true, but you can continue to respond to that.
Yes, I mean, when you have your time. Now, he also went on to say that we are in this crisis because the government delayed in going to the IMF. I thought the government should be commended because the government didn't jump at the first inkling of trouble to go to the IMF. The government thought, let's pull ourselves up by our own effort. And the government brought in the e-levy. And if the e-levy had worked the way that the government had anticipated, and we all know the problems that the e-levy went through in Parliament and so on, but if it had worked the way the government had anticipated, we may not even have gone to this IMF. So the fact that the government was trying every means possible to avoid the IMF is commendable. Indeed, John Mahama there were delays when the calls started coming in 2014, 2015. He delayed because he was also looking for an alternative. And the records are there. So you should rather commend the government for delaying or for seeking an alternative to go. And then he says that we're borrowed. Look, if we're going to talk about borrowing, we're in this problem. One of the reasons is our debt to our GDP. Nobody has said that. But the NDC, you borrowed over $30 billion in your 8 years in office. 32 billion or so. The NPP borrowed about 13 or so. So if you're going to talk about borrowing, none of us...
I'm sorry, NPP borrowed $13 billion in total in 8 years. I'm confused.
I think. Check. But you check and see what the NDC borrowed.
Wait, are you referring to one particular Eurobond or what?
Yeah, maybe.
Because 13 billion is just...
Okay.
Maybe.
There is no way that can be...
Let's assume that what I have is Eurobond. Check to see the total amount the NDC borrowed in their 8 years, and check the total amount the NPP has borrowed and see. So you cannot lay the blame on one party. That's the point. So to come here to say that we're borrowing, we're warned, and that's the reason for this crisis. When you check, you would see that all the governments have indulged in borrowing.
But Nana,
and that's contributed to this problem that we have.
It is true that the NPP government was very late to go to the IMF, and that if they had gone earlier, the effects of this program would have been much less.
It's a conjecture. It's a conjecture. But I'm saying that the fact that the government delayed, I mean, to say that if you had gone, when did they, I've forgotten the exact month, but to say that if you had gone 5 months earlier, you were going to the IMF because you were in trouble. Otherwise, what's the point?
But we were in trouble 5 months earlier. Now, it was just the denial
but to say that
kept us away from going there.
No problem. To say that if we had gone 5 months earlier, it would have been different is only a conjecture. It is not backed by any facts.
All right.
Yes. And I'm saying that what is the reason why the government went to the IMF at the point that it did? Because the government was trying a homegrown solution, which didn't work out as well as the government thought. And you should commend the government for trying a homegrown solution, trying as much as possible to solve the situation in a Ghanaian way before going to the IMF.